Subscript is the most common thing that you'll see around in any language, but Swift allows you to explore it a bit more. Giving you a simple example, let's say I have an array at line number 5 that says my array, and it is being defined with a number of words, simply saying 1, 2, 3 and all the numbers out there. So the question is, how do you access each element? Now, answer is really simple. You simply say print my array and then you put a square bracket and the index of that. But how the things are actually going at the back end is the most important. And I'm not saying this is a new concept. It has been already out there in most of the language, and similar concept applies to many other things like other data types like dictionary. How do you access a dictionary? You simply access the key and it returns you a value. So I would like to mention out here that how the things are going internally. Let's say I want to define my own accessing syntax, that how do I access a dictionary or how do I access an array. If this functionality was not being there in the default, how do I create that? Now that is what most important. Now obviously we do not want to have just a return type out there, but we'll see it in an example. Let's say the scenario where you want to have an access, let's say a user wants to access the first key, then you want to change the entire scenario, like first key should be the 1 and not the 0 key should be 1. So at that case, or you might want to increment the things or decrement the things, and this is the point where the subscript came into the existence. Now, what is a subscript? Now, subscript looks really simple, just like a simple function out there. It's a keyword, a script, a return type, which can be anything, and a pair of getters and setters. And that's all about it. That's what a subscript is. And this is how we see that. But in order to understand the subscript, we cannot just talk about it and just let it go. We need a very simple example. So let's try to have the functionality out here that is already there in the myArray and square brackets. So we want to define this functionality. Let's just say that this functionality doesn't exist. Let's just delete that. So how to define that? Let's try to build up everything inside a class. Now, once we have a class out there, I would like to name the class as simply numbers in words. That would be great for me right now. And once I have that, now let's indent it a bit. Also, let's change it to var. That is a variable. And also let's have it a private. Okay, looks good so far. Okay, how the things are going. Now we need to define a subscript that returns the value. Now we are not using the default functionality right now. We just want to create our own functionality as similar as it sounds. So let's say I define a subscript. Now obviously you will not see much drastic difference because we are building the functionality that is already there. So let's just try to have that. So we are having a subscript, and inside that I want to put an index out there. And of course the index is going to be integer type, which is already there, not this one, a caps. Okay, a little bit typos, and this should have a return type of string. Now why string? Because all of our array are being defined as a string. Now the inbuilt functionality works really like a charm, because whenever you have an array of integer, it automatically gets switched on to a switch. But right now, let's just say we are having a string of that. Okay. Half of the things are done. Now what we need is a pair of getters and setters. And if you remember what I told you, whenever we have a getter, we have a return type. That's it. And how do we return it? We simply say that whatever we want to have, like in this case, it would be my array, and it would be returning just like that. And we would be returning the index variable. Okay, half of the thing is done. Now we are returning a value, but we haven't set any value. So obviously this should not be a read-only value. This should have a setter as well. So once we have a setter, now obviously one thing that I would like to have a setter is obviously to loop through every values. So every time I do that, I want to have a new value. Okay, one thing done. Now what we need next is, let's just say that we want to have a self. And as I put a dot, it automatically suggests me what you want to have. And of course, I want to not present all the values at once. I want to present just one at a time. And new value, and that is done. So this is how you do it. Now let's get out of the class and try to access the functionality how we have. So let's define a variable, and I'll call it as a num, just for numbers, and make it a class variable or class object. So I'll call a number in words. And that's it. We define an object. That's simple. And let's just try to again print a value. Now what I'm saying is, let's just say num is this time simply can access to any value. Let's just say we want to access the 0 value, and you can see the 1 is out there. Now notice the difference between that. Now previously we were trying to define it just by the arrays and all of that. Now it's a class variable, a private variable, but still we are accessing it with the help of Subscript. Now Subscript are not just only that we define the inbuilt functionality on all of that. You can have and most of the time it is being used with the metrics out there. But again, the things are not just limited, you can have entirely a lot of things. Now at first I can understand it is a bit confusing to overlap the things and all of that, but definitely the people who are already into the extreme research and wants to build their own languages might be favoriting this video so far. But again, if you haven't got it so far, it's good. Haven't got it so far, not at all a problem, because later on when we will design our apps and all of that, when you will understand how the things are being implemented, things will get much more clearer.